The conversations and information provided are not intended to substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
The opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not reflect the view of Humana Military or the Department of Defense.
Welcome to the Operation Within podcast, where we talk about health and a deeper sense of well-being.
Operation Within is a collective initiative to optimize holistic health matters and nourish within community, within self, and within family.
Thank you for joining the conversation on Operation Within podcast. We are your hosts, Mel
and Marty, and our conversations are real, they're raw, and reflective.
These conversations offer meaningful dialogue on experiences within the military community, oriented to empower and strengthen health and vitality in our communities who serve.
We want to give a special thanks to Humana Military and our partners who have brought Operation Within to life.
Let's dive in. All right, well, we are here. It's Mel and
Marty. How you guys doing?
We're so excited to be able to share this with you all. And I want to start with just talking briefly about Operation Within. So Operation Within is a program that is a collective initiative among impact partners in San Antonio, Texas, but the partners are also international and are dedicated to serving the military community. And this program specifically, Operation Within, is designed to serve military beneficiaries by addressing health promotion, mental wellness, and cultivating a deeper sense of well-being for military beneficiaries and community. So as much as this is for families and spouses, this is also for military personnel. The mission of Operation Within serves the military community through the domains of mental wellness, connection, and mindfulness. So we have this three-tier aspect to the program that focuses on ways to help people connect. And I'm so excited that Marty is here representing Team Red, White, and Blue. And this is a big piece of how we're going to facilitate connection, and we will share more as we go. And also addressing mental hygiene, which is the purpose of this podcast, is to help invite creative and insightful ways for you to connect deeper with your own wellness, as Marty and I have dove into already and cannot wait to dive into more, is that resources that are meaningful to you, because there's so many resources out there. So we hope that this sheds light on so many ways for you to connect with yourself. And lastly is addressing mindfulness, and mindfulness being this aspect where you get to connect deeper with your own awareness, your own self-accountability, and self-determination through tools that aid relaxation and clarity. So we're going to dive in and just begin talking a little bit about Operation Within and how this came to be and how we intend and hope that this serves you.
And I'll tell you what, this is the key word of everything you just described is connection, right? And before I tell you about Team Red, White, and Blue and what we do for the veteran community in San Antonio and across the country and in select areas across the world, I'll tell you that as a military veteran, as a retiree, the biggest piece for me and my family has always been that connection. So no matter where we've been, no matter where we've served, it's always the assignments and those locations are memorable because of those connections that we've made with those people in those locations. So as I transitioned from active duty military service, retired Air Force, 24 years, and I transitioned into civilian life, moved into San Antonio. I am from Texas, but I have no connection to anyone in San Antonio. I asked my wife, hey, we're in Florida. I have a job ready, but why don't we move to San Antonio? She said, why would we want to move to San Antonio? I said, because it's Texas. But that fear of not having that connection, that was really, really challenging. And as we moved, we retired, we relocated our family, rented a home, don't know the difference between shirts in Universal City and Cibolo and Helotes, and we don't know the difference. It's all San Antonio, but it's not. We don't understand traffic or any of that stuff. And as we transition into civilian life, we found a connection through Team Red, White, and Blue. And again, this is really, really cool to be part of this initiative and this effort, because this is just a continuation of what I found through Team Red, White, and Blue. And I think Operation Within is just going to truly expand and offer this opportunity to not just the veteran community, but even those folks that support the veteran community. And I think that's just going to make San Antonio even stronger. And I think we can just be a model for other cities across the state and across the country. So I'm really, really excited to be a part of this. So thank you for having me, Mel. So do you want me to talk about RWB? What do you want to know? What do you want to know about what we do?
Yeah, one thing I love is that you highlighted connection, because so I'm a military spouse so far of 11 years. You know, married my high school sweetheart, went to Fort Bragg. We were there for 4 or 5 years, then have been here. He had a assignment in Florida, and we did a geographical separation, and I was single parenting, and now we're back. It's a whole experience, and it's very easy to feel isolated because you don't have family nearby. You don't know who or where to start. Like you said, with an example of a place like San Antonio, there's so many different communities within one city. So as a military spouse, that is something that I think spouses really, as you're preparing to PCS somewhere, knowing and learning about the community, it's overwhelming. And I find that having resources that do provide a sense of connection and that there is a place to plug into, and furthermore, finding like-minded people, right? And so why don't you start with sharing some of the events and examples of how you connect those like-minded people?
Absolutely. So, and again, I mentioned Team Red, White, and Blue. Kind of that was the launching point for me. And I know there are a number of other veteran service organizations out there, but I saw some of my buddies running on social media, right? And they post photos of them participating in a 5K or a 10K, or hey, we're volunteering at a food bank somewhere. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And they're wearing this red shirt. And this red shirt has an eagle in the front of it, and it says RWB. I'm like, what is that? And it just drew me to this. Like, what do these guys do? Maybe it's something you do after you retire, because I'd never heard of it while I was on active duty. So we got to San Antonio. I was on the local social media pages, and I was like, well, they have a chapter here. Let me see what they're doing. So I went out to an event in Shirts. So it was a Thursday night walk, pizza and walk on the Shirts Parkway, and met these fantastic folks. And they're like, hey, what we're doing is for 30 minutes, you get to walk or run or do whatever, and then you get to meet other people that are in the group, and you get to, most of them are veterans. You know, you have spouses and just folks that just support the military. And then from there, you just kind of go with it. Just see what you want to do, and you go from there. So I went to that first Thursday event, and it was amazing right off the bat. Met some other retirees, and I was able to share my experience. Like, hey, I just retired. I don't know anybody. Oh, no, don't worry about it. Welcome. Come on in. Where's your family? Where are your kids going to go to school? And I learned a little bit more about what RWB does without even knowing the mission statement or anything like that. But I found that right away I was welcomed with a hug. Right, this one of the members, her name is Ann Love Miller. She walked up. She says, "We don't handshake, we do hugs." And right there, I'm thinking, for somebody who's never lived in San Antonio, the first thing, my welcome to this veteran group was a hug, that connection, that physical touch, and just letting me know that we were going to be okay. So fast forward to my present day. So that was 4 years ago. Years ago that I moved to San Antonio. 4 years this month, actually. And I'll tell you that Red, White, and Blue, Team Red, White, and Blue, we're a veteran service organization. We're nationwide. And our mission is simple. Our mission is to enrich the lives of America's veterans. And the veteran includes the families, friends, pets, even our fur babies. Because as you can see, if you go out to you go around town, go to the Pearl or go anywhere, you'll see folks out there with their pets and their family as well. And you build a bond and a connection with your fur babies as well. So I learned that Team Red, White, and Blue, their mission is to enrich veterans' lives. So I'm like, okay, so how do you do that? How do we enrich veteran lives? So the word enrichment, it comprises of 3 components, right? People, health, and purpose. So those 3 components of the enrichment formula, those are key, and that's what makes this veteran service organization unique from some of the other ones, because this, again, is about the total family, not just the member who served or not just the member who was wounded or injured. And again, and we partner with a number of other VSOs, but Red, White, and Blue is unique because it truly is all-encompassing. We bring everybody together. let's talk about those 3 pillars real quick. So people. So one of the things that Team Red, White, and Blue does, it connects you to people. Again, there's that connection again. Not just, hey, come on out, let's do a walk, let's do a coffee social, let's go volunteer at the San Antonio Food Bank for a couple of hours, and let's go really, package some food or sort some food. It really connects you to people, and just, hey, wow, you do that as well. I love volunteering at the food bank. Me too. My spouse works at Fort Sam Houston. Wow, my spouse works over there as well. So again, you start making those connections through people, and that is amazing, especially as you're moving and retiring, and you're trying to get settled into a new city. So people, that's one pillar of the enrichment formula. Health. Everything we do for Team Red, White, and Blue is targeted towards a healthier lifestyle, giving people a healthier option. So, hey, we're going to get together. We're going to walk for 20 minutes. We're going to run for 45 minutes. Maybe we're going to go ruck 10 miles. But I'm hurt. Don't worry about it. Then let's ruck 2 miles. Let's ruck 3 miles. And that physical component, it does wonders for the body. It gets you out of that funk. It helps you, and I think in your line of work, I think you understand that physical activity, just walking around and hey, let's go for a bike ride. Let's go cycling. Let's go kayaking. We do events such, kayaking. We do hiking. We do all sorts of things. So people, we connect people to people. We focus on physical activity, right, on that health. But probably the biggest or the most important component of the 3 is the third one, and that's purpose, right? Because what we want to do is as you walk away from the military, as you transition out, it is easy to get lost, and it's easy to kind of lose that sense of purpose. Man, I used to put my uniform on every day, and I used to go to work, and I had a mission, and I was taking care of a bunch of people. And, my wife worked at the Child Development Center, and man, we were there serving the community, and now we're in San Antonio, and it's like, man, we're not doing that anymore. It's like we have to find a whole other lifestyle. So finding that sense of purpose and finding that community that gives you that sense of purpose through physical activities or volunteer activities or anything, just really doing something meaningful and purposeful. Those 3 components, that is the enrichment formula. So Team Red, White, and Blue, that is what they did for me. They were able to connect me to people. They gave me options for a healthier lifestyle. And even now, 4 years later, I love all the events we do. But more importantly, it gave me a sense of purpose. It allowed me to continue to serve in a different capacity. Maybe I'm wearing a different uniform, as obviously the listeners can't see, but I'm wearing my eagle. And I'm proud of this eagle. This is my new uniform. So for us to come in and partner or just even be associated with Operation Within, this is amazing. I'm just excited. And I just hope that our organization can help and contribute to what we're trying to achieve, with Operation Within. So that's what we do.
Well, the enrichment, I love that you broke that down, because when you think about people with the connection aspect for beneficiaries and for spouses, this is such a big piece as well, because I also believe that we find purpose so much in our affiliation, like where we find community and connection, and then bringing that together, because those 2 things do lead to better health. It's just a beautiful paradigm, and the relevance of this within something to serve military families and spouses is just so needed and so necessary. When you were talking about with the purpose aspect, I think that this is one of the number one challenges for spouses, like you were sharing your experience of getting up and moving, and it really is this reset. And trying to find who you are and what your purpose is when you PCS or move somewhere. Because, for example, I know from my experience, and I can only share from my own experience, when we were at Fort Bragg, I was one of Fayetteville's top 40 under 40. I really dove into the community wholehearted. And moving to San Antonio before, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but because I didn't start doing anything in San Antonio really till 2017, end of 2016 maybe. But 2015, I was depressed. I was really struggling with finding my purpose here, because I had a studio in Fayetteville. I was doing all this yoga, all these things, and moved to a new place. No one knows me, getting rejected for trying to find jobs. And so it does put you into this place of, it's like paralyzing. So knowing that there are resources, because you never know who you're going to meet at these events either. You might meet, whether it's someone who might be your next best friend here to someone who can help get you a job opportunity. Community is so necessary to find ways to engage with. But I want to mention too is going back to interest, right? Because I know, yes, there are these, military family gatherings. We all adore and are grateful for the resources that social media can provide to help you connect to people. But just showing up at these different events, sometimes you can feel like a fish out of water. So being able to see, I want to invite you to share a little bit about the RWB app so people can understand that there are options. You can choose this diverse schedule.
Absolutely. So you talk about community, and a quick story, and I'll talk about the lead into the app. So my first 9 months out of the military, I felt just like you just described. I was paralyzed. Here I am, an accomplished senior leader for the Department of Defense, managing operations around the world and billions of dollars of equipment. I come to Texas and nobody wants to hire me. Nobody wants to. They read my resume and I can't. I'm going to all these workshops and I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Like, what? Why don't they want me? And I was paralyzed to the point that I really felt depressed and unwanted. And it was really, really hard to try to get myself out of that funk. But every week, every Thursday, as I was going to these walks in shirts and enjoying a slice of pizza afterward and just talking to folks and connecting, hey, there's these folks over here have some job openings, and hey, these folks over here are looking for some talent. I think you would really fit. I actually, believe it or not, found a job on one of these walks, on a Thursday walk. I was more successful just connecting and actually talking to somebody on a Thursday night walk in shirts, more so than any workshop that I did, more so than any LinkedIn training. And I was able to find my sense of purpose, and I was able to kind of get out of my funk. And it's amazing. It's like you don't ever think about that. Like, wow, where these opportunities are going to come. Now, when I first got here, Team Red, White, and Blue and the San Antonio chapter, we strictly operated out of Facebook. So everything a calendar was created on Facebook. Events were shared. So if you weren't on Facebook, then you're going to miss out on the invitation. And hey, there's a calendar and you need to be on our page and so on and so forth. So fast forward, this was in 2017. In 2019, we launched an actual mobile app. So we are the only veteran service organization with an actual mobile app. And this mobile app, it's free. You can download it for any phone, your Android or iPhone, and it's free. And what it does is it actually gives you access to not only the calendar here in San Antonio, it gives you access to the calendar of every chapter, all 200 plus communities across the United States. So let's say you're on a road trip and you talked about you used to do yoga and host yoga, right? You want to go back to Fort Bragg. Hey, you know what? Fort Bragg has a Saturday yoga session. Hey, I want to go and tap in and hang out with those guys. And again, the beauty of it is via the app, you just go and it's super easy to navigate. It has the feel of Twitter. If you've ever used Twitter, and it has a feed, but it's not mean like Twitter. It's
super. It's very clear and it's very self-explanatory. Yeah, and believe it or not, I didn't know about Red, White, and Blue until being on part of this project as a military spouse. These resources, there's so many, and I think that it can be overwhelming because there's so many different resources out there. But this was such an easy way to directly tap into community because all you need to do is go to the Android or App Store, whatever App Store you have. It's a free app, download it. And then you can go from there.
Yep, and you find the event that you're interested in. Let's say you want to go kayaking, or you want to go hiking. You want to cycle on Monday nights in Cibolo, or you want to one of the events that I'm really proud of. And again, this ties into what we do. I'm proud of all of our events, but we provide a community service several times a month, and we work with the San Antonio Food Bank. We take our members, we volunteer, we sort food at the food bank. I love doing that. That is probably, especially during the COVID months where, folks couldn't go out, and there's folks, we talk about food insecurities and how we can help the community, because that not having not knowing where your next meal is coming from, that affects your total health, your mental health. You talk about mindfulness. You're just stressed out about how am I going to feed the kids? And oh, by the way, I'm also homeschooling, and I'm teleworking and I don't have enough bandwidth, I don't have enough, I don't have a hotspot, and we have all these folks. So again, I enjoy that we're able to kind of give back to events like the food bank. But what I was going to say with the app is on our mobile app, what you do is you find the event you want to be a part of, you click on that app, and it gives you an address. It gives you a quick synopsis of what we're going to be doing. It tells you who's going or who's thinking about participating, and it's 100% free. And I know it's a little overwhelming at first, kind of being kind of a fish out of water. It's like, I don't know anybody, and how are they going to welcome me? But the beauty of what we're trying to establish here, and really chapters across the United States, is when we do have new members show up to our events, is we have protocols. Say, hey, shake their hand, welcome them, tell them, hey, welcome to the team. And within seconds, you'll know, wow, this is the organization I want to be a part of. Because they remember, again, going back to my hug, my welcome into San Antonio from a complete stranger was a hug. And that meant the world to me. And here I am 4 years later. I'm a volunteer leader. I'm in a leadership role, and I'm able to kind of socialize a lot of our events and work projects like this. But I'll never forget how it feels for somebody who's brand new, who's just transitioning in, or just somebody who wants to. I've been on the sidelines for a while. I just haven't been able to kind of get out. Well, come on out. Come on out to our food bank, or let's go have coffee. Well, and then we just start the conversation, handshake, a hug. What are you looking to do? What do you want to do? Well, I just want to maybe start exercising again. We got something for you. Hey, I'm looking for a job. Man, I know somebody in this other space. Or, hey, I want to really connect and kind of get back into the swing of things. And that's what I really like about our veteran service organization, or Team Red, White, and Blue, because it has provided that for me and a number of my family members and friends. It's amazing. I mean, it's over and over. We've repeated this success. And now what I would like to do is kind of really widen our aperture and share some of these successes with the greater community, with folks who may not know that Team RWB existed. I think you mentioned that. You were like, I didn't know it existed.
And again, because I think that there's so many different things out there. And another thing that I want to point out that I'm really excited that, with this Humana supported program, Operation Within, is to provide more events to San Antonio that are focused on self-care, stress reduction. So definitely check out, when you download the app, you'll see that there's some upcoming events that are oriented towards relaxation, stress reduction, yoga, and also trying to be as family-centered as possible, because for many, just like myself, my little one is, going to be around, or, navigating childcare can oftentimes be such an access barrier for these community resources and events. But I also noticed that RWB has online some Zoom, different online, I think I saw a Zoom yoga, different online resources, so you can access some of this connection from your home as well. So very multifaceted.
It started initially, the virtual event started because of COVID.
Yeah. Because
we weren't allowed to engage in in-person events, because, we wanted to make sure that folks are safe and they weren't at risk of maybe catching COVID. So the organization did a fantastic job of adapting to the environment. And they started producing these virtual events, and they're hosted by they're trained athletes. And sometimes we have Olympic athletes that are out there. They're giving you advice on how to train and how to stretch and how to perform. But again, from the comfort of your home, your kids, your family, you just throw it up on the computer and project it onto your TV or whatever. You can do yoga from home. You can do, if you own a Peloton or you want to do spin, we have classes hosted, Peloton riding classes.
That's amazing.
And you can just sit there and you can plug in, and all you have to do is click into our Zoom link. You click in, it's free, and then you're having your workout. Now you're connecting with members from across the United States. So, hey, somebody from Washington, somebody from North Carolina, somebody from Texas, somebody from Georgia, and you're all there doing the same ride and just connecting again, because sometimes it's hard to get out. You work late, or I'm traveling from across the city. It's like, man, I can't make that 6:00 event, but I know that there's going to be an online cycling event. I can do that. Or there's a mindfulness event. Every Monday we have a mindfulness event on the app. It's free. And then you can sit there, for 30 minutes. You can just enjoy some silence, and just really reset. And these are some of the key words that you've been sharing, and it's just amazing how connected or how aligned Operation Within and this initiative is with what we're already doing with Team Red, White, and Blue. So this is a perfect match, and I'm excited about how we can just really kind of bring everybody out and make this a success.
Well, and what's beautiful is that the different partners involved in this all have their own unique aspect to it, but it's all serving this same mission of trying to aid and amplify connection, amplify mental hygiene, and address tools that can help cultivate more mindfulness in life. You know, when it comes to something like mindfulness, it's really about paying attention on purpose without reactivity. It's our ability to show up and be present. And that's another thing, you know, we talk about connection. For military spouses, I know one of the struggles is it's like, okay, we're in a new place or we're in a new chapter of our lives, and I'm scared or paralyzed to even begin building new relationships because, well, we're going to be leaving anyways, so whatever. And I'm guilty I've done that, you know. When we had our temporary time in Florida, I really didn't expand out. Also, the pandemic did hit, and then that kind of put myself in. But I saw, even after being involved in self-care for military spouses for a handful of years, I felt that retraction in of like, well, I'm not going to be here long, so I don't need to make these relationships. But it was this constant practice of, wait, like, I'm in this now moment. I'm here in this present moment, and it's about quality of life. It's about showing up right now and finding the most magical things about this moment, and be here and engage in relationship or have fun tonight, or, you know, connect with like-minded people, even if we're not necessarily going to be connected forever, because the truth is that's life, right? Like, whether you're military or not, like, people come and go and life changes.
And I think, but that's definitely more prevalent in I know for military families, that's the norm. We get up, we go 3 years, 4 years, and it's like, it's not, I won't ever see you, but we're leaving. And that's just the routine. And I'll tell you, I'm guilty as the military member that I don't, in my 2 decades of service, I didn't pay attention to those signs from, you know, my daughters or my spouse, like, hey, you know, are you okay? It's like, hey, we're moving. This is awesome. This is exciting. My kids are like, I'm leaving school. I'm leaving my friends. And my spouse is, I have to leave my job again, and I have to get another job. And those are some of the things that obviously as you mature and you kind of go on in your career. And when I retired and I was able to reflect on the totality of our service, and you realize like, wow, there was an opportunity missed, but my spouse and my kids were able to really learn new skills, and they were more adaptable than I was. When I retired, I was a lost puppy. I didn't know what was going on, and they were the ones coaching me how to kind of deal with this change, and how to deal with this stress, and how to find new friends. Because for the first time in 24 years, I didn't have a job to walk into. I didn't have like-minded people that I was going to talk to. That was strange. That was a complete paradigm shift to this doesn't happen. I'm the one that has a job. You're the ones that you know I have to work on. So that was actually kind of strange. So I appreciate that you shared that, and it just truly reminds me that again, every time or any time that you have an opportunity to share an experience or connect with somebody, these are some of the things that help you really digest kind of life in general. And you're just like, wow, you know, that was a tremendous opportunity. Man, maybe I could have done better, you know. And this is about being present. I think, I'm really interested. I like the term you talked about, mental hygiene.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard that term used before until this conversation. What can you elaborate on? What is that? Like, Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
I have to give the U.S. Army credit because this is inspired from their H2F 7-22. It's the new ACFT. It's the holistic health and fitness modality of wellness, and how they're trying to address different metrics and issues going on within the Army. I know the Air Force has its own. Like, a lot of the branches are starting to develop more initiatives to address these things, because we know that, well, if you're going to your performance, whether it's career or mission performance, is going to be dependent a lot on not just your physical wellness, but your mental wellness. So mental hygiene, you think about, let's take a moment and talk about hygiene, like an easy thing everybody recognizes is dental hygiene, right? So there was a time in history where we did not practice dental hygiene. And what happened is eventually we started saying, if we brush our teeth, if we floss our teeth, we could probably take care of our dental health. And in the same way, in the self-care community, when we talk about self-care hygiene, it's the same exact thing. It's the awareness of, okay, what do I need to do? Maybe it's, picking up my home so I can think clearly, or it's, I need to say no and set a boundary or rest. So self-care hygiene. And in the same way, mental hygiene, it's doing things that are going to optimize your mental well-being. So one of the quickest and most impactful ways to address mental hygiene is through stress reduction. And I'll just take a moment and briefly share that the reason it's such an imperative way to address mental hygiene is because when you're stressed out, you're activating the cortisol and the adrenaline. And what happens is it pulls energy out of your prefrontal cortex. So when you're activated in stress, it's pulling energy out of your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible in your brain for bigger picture and seeing that, making decisions and so on. So if you think about it, if energy is being pulled out of the thing that helps you see the big picture, well, of course you're going to be reactive. Of course it's hard to figure out what you need to do, and you're going to be upset and create all these more problems for yourself.
Maybe more impulsive?
Absolutely, yeah. And so addressing stress, addressing your ability to self-regulate is becoming a big mission within the Army as well, but also here with Operation Within for military spouses. And that's something that over the past 4 or 5 years, my work with military spouses has been to develop and integrate mindfulness-based healing tools, yoga, self-care, because it's stressful. And I actually really appreciate you sharing the recognition of, we call it the hidden family members, in the military. And for military spouses, there's different, stigmas and challenges that just the identity of being a military spouse. I mean, I've been told to my face that I'm just a military spouse by people in the military. And sometimes it's just this assumption that, I remember when I had my daughter, that was the first time I really started going, oh, wow, like my choice of, my choice of being married to my husband and our choice of being in the military, this impacts her. And, the kind of feedback that I had received in some personal conversations was, well, you know what you signed up for. I was 17, 18. I got married at 19. I did not know what I signed up for. And I just want to honor military spouses because there's a stigma and a challenge to speak out of, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, I have dreams too. And my hope and intention and the contribution to Operation Within is to aid and support resources that do guide military spouses to connect with deeper self-identity, because it's easy to lose your identity within the military community, to cultivate more meaning and job opportunities. So it's like, you don't have to just do the easy job or like whatever this job is and you can't build your career. There's ways to build your career. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's like what Marty said, you have to like pivot and you look at the challenge, there's opportunities, right? And then connection, which we've already touched on.
I used to, in my previous life or my previous career, I used to teach. I used to teach for the Air Force, and I had the opportunity just to listen to some amazing stories from amazing people. And I think one of the many stories that stayed with me is I've always been very, very conscious and very aware that it's like the nurse or the doctor, they're out there, especially this year with COVID or the folks that do it all the time is like or you're a chaplain, right? And you're there, you're mentoring and helping the community. But I'm always wondering, who's helping the chaplain, who's helping the nurse, who's helping the doctor, right? And I see military spouses as they are truly they truly take care of America's service members, right? Because the spouses are the ones that truly see that member for who they are, all of those stressors that they carry, all of those issues that they have to deal with, and many times the spouse is the counselor, is the nurse, is that sounding board that obviously for you don't share that information, right? But you carry that with you. You carry that with you. At the same time, trying to make a connection with like-minded people, trying to continue your yoga practice, trying to find employment, trying to take care of the kids, making sure that, that they have the care that they need, making sure the bills are paid. Oh, by the way, my husband, my wife is deployed for a year. I haven't heard from them, or I'm Skyping and the washer breaks down, or the car broke down, or there's a storm coming in. And again, and I've been on the receiving end, overseas. And, my wife used to always say, I'm never going to give you any bad news, but I know that she carried all of that for the family. So again, when we retired, she retired. It was a thank you for her and the girls, because again, it's very, very challenging. For a spouse or a caretaker or a parent. You don't know what folks are dealing with until you take a moment to just ask, how are you doing?
Well, and I think about these organizations and the military itself beginning to really honor and amplify military spouses, because I know in my own experience that when I'm not doing well, my husband doesn't perform well. When I'm super supportive and really involved in edifying him and his work, he shines. Like it's this mutual partnership of contribution to America's service members or to defending this country. It Absolutely. Is. And it's a challenging thing, because I think too is, as a military spouse, it can feel you don't want to take credit, or you don't want to say those things. And that's not at all what this is or ever is. It's just that there is these other factors of soldier hygiene and health, and it's who that soldier comes home to, what that soldier comes home to. So
yeah, it's just I'm again, as I've 4 years removed from the military, and a lot of these thoughts and stories of these awesome people that take care of other people, in their darkest days. And that's I think why I'm so connected and drawn to Team Red, White, and Blue, and why I want to give back. Because, I had a great career, and I had somebody always taking care of me. I had somebody always taking care of my family, anything with we call it stick furniture. So if you're a military member, you know what that term is, stick furniture. When you leave one installation, you go to another, they have this office where they let you borrow a couch and a chair and a little coffee table, and it's temporary furniture, and we just call it stick furniture. But we've actually had to live off of stick furniture when we were a younger military family, because I wasn't making a lot of money. We weren't making a lot of money. We were just kind of getting by. But again, now that I'm retired, and now that I feel like I can give back. I love that I can be a part of Team Red, White, and Blue. Not because I can run a 5K or a 10K or a half marathon. That's not even a factor. But I know that because of this community, I'm able to just connect with people that may be in need, and maybe I can offer a word of advice or some comfort, or that hug that I got when I first got here. Or I can just invite them, be like, hey, come on out. Let's go and do a cleanup. Let's go and work Soldiers Angels. Soldiers Angels is a fantastic program that we support military families, that are dealing with food insecurities, and we give them some great food, and we go and package food and hand them out. And that's all connected to the San Antonio Food Bank, or go to Haven for Hope downtown. You go and serve a hot meal to homeless folks that are out there. And to me, that is one way that I can give back, because you never know who's on that receiving end of that lifeline. It could be a military member. It could be a military spouse. It could be the child of a military family. And you just want to be able to give back. And to me, that's what Team Red, White, and Blue does for me. Is it just gives me the opportunity to give back. And I love it. I absolutely love being a part of this group.
It makes me think of, I think of a lot of those who choose to serve the military they're oriented towards service, and it's almost like we redeploy back into the society in a different way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it feels like. And it just, again, it's that sense of purpose, because I'm getting up at 5, getting the uniform on, coffee, going to work. Okay, we've got a mission. We've got a problem set. Let's take care of it. And again, it's hard to let go. It's you're just wired to go and make things happen. So again, an effort like this, Operation Within. So how do we help? So what can we do, or other veteran service organizations? How can we help? How can we make this program kind of shine for San Antonio? What do you think we can do?
Well, I think the most effective thing is reaching military beneficiaries and families and finding part of this is giving them places that are, because, there are a lot of health and fitness things out there, but for some people that might be an access barrier in itself. Maybe they're not ready or not interested in like going for a run or things like that. So I know that Team RWB does like social events too. So it's not just going to be this, physical fitness. And so there's a lot of different options. So we're trying to access a diverse way to serve, and also through these food distributions and providing resources. I actually want to begin talking about military resources, going to your question of how do we get back? How do we serve? And one of the things over the years is, at least for myself, and I think that a lot of military spouses can probably agree, there are so many resources out there, and there's all these programs and all these things that it almost seems like everybody's doing the same thing, but then not really, or, there's supposed to be this support, but then it's not. And there's a lot of different things. It feels very daunting, especially if you're moving to a new location, or maybe you've been stationed somewhere and you're like, it's time that I get back involved in the community. And I want to ask you, Marty, when you think of a meaningful military resource, like what makes the difference between just a military resource versus something that's very meaningful to the community?
That's a great question. And I'm going to just give it from the heart. Okay. So a meaningful resource is somebody that somebody's going to put that hand on your shoulder and just say, hey, bud, are you okay? Not, hey, here's an ad, here's a survey, do you need anything? And
yes.
it just feels super disconnected. And we do surveys and just, hey, how are you doing? And sign up, and here's a gift card if you sign up, and I just want to see how you're doing. And that feels so disconnected, and it just doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel genuine, but to me, a meaningful resource is somebody walking with me or sharing a coffee with me, and just no kidding, ask me, how are you doing? It's like, I'm not doing very well. I'm not doing very well. I've lost a family member, or, my kids moved out, I'm empty nesting. That's, by the way, empty nesting is a real deal. I have 2 daughters, and I was a mess. I felt like I had just retired again, because both my girls are successful, and one's is an Air Force ROTC cadet, so she wants to commission and be an officer in the U.S. Air Force. Super happy of both of them, and they're doing great. But it's still like, wow, the house is empty, they're gone. Man, I missed all these opportunities. But again, for me is me being able to share that with somebody. And then that person saying, you know what, I know what you mean. I know what you're going through. I went through that. And I found this group over here, this awesome group downtown. And we do coffees once a month, or we go for a walk down the Riverwalk, or we just come together and just kind of share, just a little group, just to kind of hang out. To me, that is a meaningful resource, is somebody that I can connect with, somebody that has a shared experience, that can put a hand on my shoulder or my arm and say, it's going to be fine. You're going to be okay. This is just a natural part of life, because that's a lot better than just somebody saying, hey, here's a survey. Just if you have any issues, call us. Here's a card. It just seemed very impersonable.
Yeah, here's the handouts. Here's all your papers. Yes. Take this home and read it.
Here's a PowerPoint. Yeah. Go through the PowerPoint. And I think, and again, those services are amazing. I'm sure there's some good services, but when it's not... You don't have that connection or that personal connection. It's like you can't help me. I'll talk about when I retired. I did a psych eval. I'm not going to get into details, but I did a psych eval, and the person that was asking me questions and trying to assess me, her monitor pretty much covered. The only thing I could see was her eyeballs. Right, and there was a big desk in between us, so there was a barrier. There were 2 barriers to our communication, right? And if anybody knows anything about communication, right, is even the nonverbals and all that's actually encompasses the greater part of the message more so than the words, right? So I'm like, there was this medical professional who was genuinely trying to help me, genuinely in her professional aspect. He was trying to help me. but she had a big desk between us, big monitors that covered her eyes, and she wasn't looking at me while she was typing. She was just asking questions, completely just not looking at me. And there were some very personal questions. And I left there very unimpressed. And I'm thinking, if this is a reason why some people don't do very well when they leave the military, or not even the military, just are dealing with some issues or depression, because you're not listening. You're not truly listening. You're just, I'm a number, I'm another case. You're trying to get me through the day. That's what it felt like.
Well, and asking such personal questions, and this actually, I believe, is one of the strongest access barriers for people to receive mental health, wellness, and services, is because it's not just the stigma that, and we're in a time where I feel like the stigma is being broken down. We're talking about this more. However, it's the process itself where you feel kind of like thrown to the side or not valued, and the intimacy of what's being shared, right? And holding that space. So when we talk about resources, you know, I think fundamentally resources, it's like designed to fix a problem. Like, here, we're going to solve your problems. But that this fix it, heal it, fix it, change it, fix it, find it, fix it type of, I guess, energy around resources can make people feel disposable. And it's like, it's healing and being in growth. It's not even about being served. It's about personal growth and healing. It's a process, and it doesn't just happen overnight. So this aspect of connection and holding space for meaningful conversations where we can take strength from one another's stories and be inspired, or also, wow, like, I'm human. Like, how human of me that I had that experience. Okay, not crazy.
Yeah, that was it was strange, because it's like, wow, is this right? I mean, I felt horrible. I left there and I'm like, I never want to come back to this building ever again. That I shouldn't feel like that, but I just didn't feel that connection. So you talk about a meaningful resource. That was not a meaningful resource for me. And I know they have the tools and the funding and all of this great technology to help me. But that person that was driving and managing this technology and this process just essentially was looking at the keyboard, and I'm like, I'm unloading, sharing, opening my heart, and I just I can't get you to look at me. It's just, I didn't like that feeling. So to me, that was an example of not a meaningful engagement. So anything that is not that would be a meaningful engagement, and that, again, it starts with something as simple as, I'm going to put my hand on top of your hand. Hey, I'm here for you. Like, it's okay. Keep going. Keep telling your story. We're here to help. And just that simple touch, or that acknowledgement that I feel your pain. I see your pain. I know that you don't want a handout. You just want to connect and understand that other people are going through the same thing. How do we heal together? Right?
Exactly.
How do we heal together?
And that's what co-regulation is. We heal through co-regulating with one another. It's amazing for your nervous system. And one thing to remember with resources and healing in itself is that there are resources out there that provide all these cool things and all this stuff. And the truth is, growth is not something that is given to you. It is a process that you integrate within. So it's how you connect with it. It is not just that, because I've been teaching yoga for over 10 years. And the type of yoga I teach, it's therapeutic, it's mindfulness, it's all based in evidence oriented research. It's very focused and intentional for healing. However, I can have people in a class, and just because they're in the class doesn't mean they're going to benefit the way another person is. It's all about the capacity that you show up as in an experience, right? You're going to get out what you put into the experience. So, I think that if we're looking at a meaningful resource, it's how do you really engage the human so they can go through that creative process. I'll share. I developed a program for the USO. It called the Yoga Foundations course. So the Foundations course, and this is an online program that train military spouses. It's about 52 hours online. It's free. So if you're a military spouse, you can go to www.millmindbody.com and you can access it. But what I found is these pre-recorded videos, they were so helpful for equipping and giving education. But the profound aspect was when we would get together with our spouses going through the experience, or I also would offer these mentoring sessions where I just get on the phone. It was just a phone call and just chatting with them of like the book that they read or that one thing that I spoke about. And it was that was really what I believe, brought sustainability to because I can give information all day, we can educate people all day, but it's actually their ability to process it and meet it and not everybody's going to be in that place in their life, or, whether it's ready for it or, open. It's the way it's language is really how it's going to land for people. So, if one resource doesn't work for you, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that it's about finding the right one.
It's finding the correct resource. And that is absolutely correct. You mentioned something about one of the things that this just triggered a thought. So this year, because of COVID and because we weren't, we host socials. We used to host a monthly social for Team Red, White, and Blue, San Antonio. And because restaurants are shut down and, they're limiting to the size of groups. So we started doing book clubs.
Oh, I love that.
So we started hosting, virtual book clubs, and then we moved on to different coffee shops in town. And I tell you what, these book clubs, we did not anticipate, as a leadership team, we did not anticipate the impact that this was going to have on our members and just folks that are out there. One, because we have such a diverse community, but some folks, again, they're not. I don't want to go run. I don't want to go kayak. I just want something easy. That book club drew in this different group. But if you've ever been a part of a book club, it's like, okay, chapter 1, what was chapter 1, chapter 2? It's not a test on the book. It's discussing the content, right? And then how does it relate to us? How do we connect with the concepts that are being discussed? And I'll tell you some of the more powerful moments between our members and some of the more powerful conversations about life and resilience. And I even wrote it down here. You talk about earlier, the deeper sense of well-being is a lot of those acknowledgments and realizations happen through discussing a book, different genres of book, from biographies, to whatever, any life. One of the books you read was Linda Ellis, Live Your Dash. Right, if you've ever read that book, that's a fantastic book, and it's one of my personal favorites. And it has quick little nuggets, 2-3 page chapters, and then it gives you a scenario. Then it gives you, hey, this is how you should. This is how it's beneficial to you. And I'll tell you what, that book session. I mean, we were at this coffee shop for a couple of hours, and folks were like, they were listening to our conversation because people were talking about their military experiences, their children, talking about divorce, talking about some of the struggles, completely off page from what we were talking in the book, but that's how they were able to find that connection. And these are folks that rarely talk, that rarely, come out and do anything with us. But that's part of that deeper sense of like, hey, I want to share my experience. And it's like, wow, you never say anything. I'm going to listen. Like, I'm like, what is it that you have to share with us? But I'll tell you what, these book clubs, again, more than finding that connection and finding that social aspect, those have been just fantastic for our group and our chapter here. And we haven't stopped them. We, like, every month we're having our book club because they're awesome. They're really good. And we get to eat desserts and drink coffee. So that's always a win, right?
Of course. Well, and being able to resonate with one another on meaningful topics, because part of it, sometimes it's just the insight of something that can redirect your whole life. I mean, just learning how to reframe something can make a huge difference in how you navigate challenges. And that is what mental hygiene is. So beautiful. Well, I know that we're approaching our time, and I want to, with meaningful resources, of course, Operation Within is a program that is providing meaningful or serving and attempting to provide meaningful programs and opportunities for military families and community to participate in. And I want to maybe ask Marty, so is there anything else that you want to share regarding meaningful resources or another experience potentially that?
So before I know as we wrap up, I definitely want to give everybody an opportunity. If you want to learn more about, as you can hear and you can, with my stories, I'm really passionate about Team Red, White, and Blue and what we do. But if you want to find out more information about what we're doing nationally, what we're doing locally here in San Antonio, teamrwb.org. We're easy to find online. And again, you can go to the App Store. You can download the Team RWB, Team Red, White, and Blue web app. And again, and that right there is your first step here in San Antonio to get connected to different events and activities that will connect you to people. It'll give you healthy options, right, for a healthier lifestyle, and will potentially, you'll be able to find that sense of purpose. We talk about those 3 pillars and about enriching the lives of America's veterans. And again, but America's veterans is not just the member, as we talked about in our discussion. It's the spouse, it's the kids, it's that support groups. All the folks that you engage with daily. That encompasses the veteran community, not just I wore the uniform, because as you can see, there's more to it than just the member who wears the uniform. But again, meaningful resources. I think, Mel, you mentioned there's a number of resources out there, but you have to find one that is suited for you, something that you're passionate about, something that you know that you can contribute easily without working. You're not working hard. It's like, this is awesome. I do this on my off time and I want to give back. This is an avenue for me. And I think if you find any sort of resource out there and you can give back, again, without it feeling like work, that's a meaningful resource. Yeah. You can find a community that can have a shared experience, and you can, they can put a hand on your shoulder, say, hey, I'm here with you. I'm hearing you. How can I help? That's a meaningful resource. Again, I'm partial to Red, White, and Blue, but there are a number of other veteran service organizations and schools. I mean, you can go help out at a school, help out at different venues downtown. But again, just find something you're passionate about, and it's gonna feel awesome because you're able to give back, and it's not gonna be difficult. So.
Well, and a lot of these organizations work with one another and support one another. So I kind of think of it like ice cream. Like, you're not going to like every flavor.
That's
so
right.
Find the flavors you like. And if something's not working for you, it's an invitation for you to speak up and ask. Because I know that I find when I just assume that I know everything, then I end up missing the biggest opportunities and the most beautiful ways that I can connect, because I'm in my own whatever it is. So asking for that help of saying, hey, I like to knit. Is there a knitting group? Or where can I connect with people who knit? Or whatever it is. I've also found that by showing up to these different events or connecting with people, even just through an email of, hey, this is what I'm looking for, you can be directed and maybe connect with the right person that way. But it's simply an invitation for you to speak up and advocate for yourself, because I feel for the military community, especially spouses, it's a unique experience where we do have to advocate for ourselves. We do have to ask for what we need, because we're always oriented around our service member or, whatever mission or orders or whatever we're going through with them. But if we need something, the practice of saying, hey, I want to find a community, or I'm looking for a job, and speaking up or asking or reaching out. So the invitation is always yours, and we are so excited to continue supporting you. And we are so excited that we have other organizations supporting this mission and that we're here to share. So stay tuned for our next episode.